evening and welcome to Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha with News Tonight. Before we go over to the headlines, Rajya Sabha TV appeals to all its viewers to stay safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Wear face masks, wash hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing while stepping outside. Remember, these simple precautions are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic. And now let's get you the top stories of the day. At a meeting with Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar, farmers from 12 states back agricultural reform laws, urge protesting farmers to consider the government's proposals. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh reassures farmers, says government will make all efforts to remove their doubts on the agricultural reform laws. Consultation meetings on budget preparations with different sections begin. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman holds discussions with leading industrialists. Prime Minister Modi interacts with industry members and academia in space sector, expresses hope that nation will soon become manufacturing hub for space assets. And active COVID cases continue to fall in India. Number of people undergoing treatment dropped to 3,53,000. Recovery rate approaches 95%. Well, a delegation of farmer leaders from at least 12 different states representing the All India Kisan Coordination Committee has met Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar in New Delhi and extended their support to the newly enacted 3 farm laws. The delegation included the farmer leaders from Telangana, Maharashtra, Haryana, Tamil Nadu and Bihar. All of them were convinced that the recent farm acts are for the benefit of farmers across the country.
ऑल इंडिया किसान समन्वय समिति के पदाधिकारी आए थे तमिलनाडु से, तेलंगाना से, महाराष्ट्र से, बिहार से और सभी लोगों ने पत्र देकर कृषि सुधार बिलों का समर्थन किया है और उन्होंने कहा है कि लंबे समय से इस प्रकार के बिल आए और किसान को स्वतंत्रता मिले, इसके लिए हम संघर्ष कर रहे थे। मोदी सरकार ने यह नेक काम किसानों के हित में किया है, हम इसका स्वागत करते हैं और इस बिल का पूरा समर्थन करते हैं। ऐसे सभी जो ऑल इंडिया किसान समन्वय समिति के पदाधिकारीगण आए थे विभिन्न राज्यों से, मैं उनको हृदय से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूँ।
Narendra Singh Tomar reiterated that the government is ready for talks with farmers, adding that the intentions and policies of this government are towards the welfare of the farmers.
किसानों के जीवन स्तर में बदलाव लाने के लिए आए हैं। इन कानूनों के पीछे भारत सरकार की नीति और नियत दोनों सही है और हम लोगों ने किसान यूनियन के साथ बातचीत की है, उनको समझाने का भी प्रयास किया है और हमारी इच्छा है कि वो क्लॉज बाय क्लॉज चर्चा करें और हम लोगों ने जो अपनी तरफ से प्रस्ताव दिए हैं उन पर उनका क्या मत है वो व्यक्त करेंगे, तो निश्चित रूप से हम लोग चर्चा को आगे बढ़ाएं।
A delegation of farmers from Uttarakhand and Haryana had also met the Union Agriculture Minister in New Delhi on Sunday, extending their support to the 3 farm laws. A delegation of Haryana MPs and MLAs on Monday met Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar, Union Minister of State for Water Resources Ratan Lal Kataria, Lok Sabha MPs Dharamveer Singh and Nayab Singh Saini, and Rajya Sabha MP DP Vats and along with some MLAs were present in the meeting. The meeting followed talks between Haryana Deputy Chief Minister Dushyant Chautala and Narendra Singh Tomar on Saturday.
आज हरियाणा प्रदेश के सभी सांसदगण और विधायकगण आदरणीय तोमर जी से मिले हैं और तीनों कृषि कानूनों के लिए उनका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद किया है और ये कहा है कि इन कानूनों के लागू होने से किसानों की आय दुगनी होगी और हम सरकार के साथ हैं, आप आगे बढ़ो। अगर कहीं पर किसानों ने कोई आपत्तियां उठाई हैं और जो प्रस्ताव सरकार ने दिया है तो लेट द फार्मर्स थिंक अपॉन दोज प्रपोजल।
Union Minister Prakash Javadekar on Monday targeted Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal over his fast to show solidarity with the protesting farmers. In a Twitter message, Javadekar noted that Aam Aadmi Party in its election manifesto for Punjab elections in the year 2017 had promised to amend the APMC Act and that the Aam Aadmi Party government has already notified the three laws in the national capital. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also said on Monday that the government has taken several steps to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Virtually addressing FICCI's annual conclave, Rajnath Singh said that India is bouncing back from the adverse impact of the pandemic much sooner than expected. He said that Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan is a watershed moment in India, under which several historic policy decisions have been taken.
The financial packages that the government has released have had wide-ranging and far-reaching impact. Commencing with the initiative on 26th March 2020, a rupees 1.7 lakh crore package was announced, which focused on providing immediate relief to the poor, migrants, and both urban and rural workers also. It included food security and direct cash transfer. In May this year, a follow-up 20 lakh crore package addressed a number of challenges faced by the country. The focus of this initiative also aimed to provide a major impetus to the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative.
Allaying the concerns raised by farmers, Rajnath Singh asserted that the centre is taking steps in the interest of the farmers across the country and that the government is always ready to listen to them.
Agriculture has been one sector which has been able to avoid the adverse effects of the pandemic and in fact come out the best. Our produce and procurement have been plentiful and our warehouses are full. There is no question of taking retrograde steps against our agricultural sector either. The recent reforms have been undertaken with the best interests of India's farmers in mind. We are, however, always willing to listen to our farmer brothers, allay their misgivings, provide them with assurances we can provide. Our government is always open to discussion and dialogue.
Referring to China's aggression along the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh, the Defence Minister added that the armed forces were valiantly defending our borders at a time the world was fighting coronavirus.
Friends, India, due to its location, size, population, and economy, has always been at the strategic forefront of the global security. We have been victims of cross-border terrorism, yet have fought the scourge alone, even when there was no one to support us. But later, they understood we were right about Pakistan being the fountainhead of terrorism. And now, again, our brave forces are there in the forefront fighting icy winds to guard our borders and to fulfill their responsibility.
Also addressing the 93rd FICCI Annual Convention, Congress leader Anand Sharma said, in the fight against COVID-19, we came together as a nation. He said our capacity increment in terms of manufacturing PPE kits, ventilators and other equipment is a credit to the people, society and also the government.
Despite the challenge, we were not overwhelmed. We responded with grit as a nation. When we look at where we were in March, the world was still learning, including the doctors and the medical fraternity, how this virus was behaving, as scary as it is and continues to be. India was not thrown off balance, I would say. We have been up the learning curve very sharply. We ramped up our capacities, and there I would compliment the Indian industry, our entrepreneurs too, and our healthcare system. From the isolation beds, which were nearly 170,000 on the 1st of April, today we have almost 14 lakh isolation beds. The ICU beds, we have quadrupled from 20,000 to 80,000. And similarly, the tests, from 28,000, we have gone to 1.5 million. And the number of labs, when you look at the testing labs, 125 in March 31st, and today 2,229 or maybe more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday interacted with members from key industries, startups and academia in the space sector. He expressed hope that the country would soon become the manufacturing hub of space assets. He said that the decision to unlock India's potential in the space sector has heralded a new age of public-private partnership in the sector. The Prime Minister also assured the participants of complete and wholehearted support of the government in this endeavour. The Union Cabinet, led by the Prime Minister, took the historic decision in June 2020 to open up the space sector and enable the participation of Indian private sector in the entire gamut of space activities. And Prime Minister Modi will visit Dhordo in Gujarat's Kutch on Tuesday to lay the foundation stone of several development projects in the state. The projects include a desalination plant, a hybrid renewable energy park, and a fully automated milk processing and packing plant. The Prime Minister will also undertake a visit to the White Run and later also witness a cultural program. Gujarat is taking a significant step towards transforming seawater to drinking water with the upcoming desalination plant at Manvi in Kutch. This plant, with 10 crore litre per day capacity, will strengthen water security in the state by complementing Narmada grid, the Sony network and treated wastewater infrastructure. The Rajya Sabha Committee on MP Lads met on Monday. It examined complaints from members regarding the smooth implementation of MP Lad scheme. The committee took up the memorandum on the non-operation of the MP Lad scheme in the financial year 2020-21 and 2021-22 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Besides, the committee also reviewed the rehabilitation works carried out in areas affected by natural calamities. The panel further considered the memorandum on constitution of the monitoring committee consisting of members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha to oversee MP Lad scheme at the district level. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on Monday held pre-budget consultations with top industrialists. The meeting assumed significance as it brought industry and government officials to identify critical areas of reform and recovery post the COVID-19 pandemic. The ideas from the industry would go as valuable inputs for government budgetary exercise for the financial year 2022. Finance Secretary A.B. Pandey, Secretary DEA Tarun Bajaj, Chief Economic Advisor K. Subramanian and several other senior officials were also present during the meeting. On Tuesday and Wednesday, the Finance Minister will hold pre-budget meetings with stakeholders from financial sectors and also the capital markets. On Thursday, she will be meeting stakeholders from social sector. Time for a short break here, but more news and updates will continue on the other side. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching News Tonight. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has said that the coming days will see much more synergy between foreign policy and defense issues. Addressing the Manohar Parrikar Memorial Lecture in New Delhi on Sunday, the External Affairs Minister said India's rise is creating a ripple effect in world politics and some forces are trying to dilute its influence. Details in this report. India is rising and competitive elements will always try to limit its growing influence, says External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. He further said there will be attempts to undermine India's forceful claim for a permanent seat at the UNSC.
But the world is a competitive place, and India's rise will evoke its own reactions and responses. There will be attempts to dilute our influence and limit our interests. Some of this contestation can be directly in the security domain. Others could be reflected in economics, connectivity, even in societal contexts. The national security challenges faced by this rising India are also obviously going to be very different. At one level, some of the more perennial problems associated with our national consolidation and development will continue. In particular, a long-standing political rivalry is today expressed as sustained cross-border terrorism by a neighbor.
The External Affairs Minister also underscored the need to create synergy between diplomacy and military in the present times. He also mentioned that during the COVID pandemic, Indian Defence Forces worked to bolster India's influence.
The peacekeeping operations that we have conducted under the UN flag virtually since independence, our record of 51 out of 71 UN deployments involving more than 2 lakh military personnel, often in very difficult circumstances, is not only widely appreciated, but has actually contributed, it has strengthened our credentials for the permanent membership of the UN Security Council.
India has an impressive record in peacekeeping operations. India contributed forces in 51 out of 71 UN deployments involving over 2 lakh personnel. The External Affairs Minister said it's time that India demands its due and secures a permanent UN Security Council seat. With inputs from Akhilesh Suman, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Stealth warship Hegiri was launched in Kolkata in the presence of Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat on Monday. It is the first ship in a series of 3 stealth frigates under Project 17A. Madhulika Rawat, the wife of General Rawat, launched it at the Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers Yard at Hooghly. The ship will undergo extensive trials before being delivered to the Indian Navy. Each of the guided missile frigates is 149 meters long, with displacement of nearly 6,670 tons and a speed of 28 knots. Speaking on the occasion, General Rawat asserted that Indian forces will leave no stone unturned to safeguard the country's frontiers. He added that Hegiri will provide a major boost to the Navy. On the face-off with China along the line of actual control in Ladakh, he assured that Indian forces are prepared for any eventuality in the border areas.
We are in a standoff situation in Ladakh, and based on that, there is some development activity which has been ongoing in Tibet Autonomous Region of China. Well, every nation will continue to prepare for ensuring its security based on their strategic interests, and I don't think there should be much concern in that, because we on our side are also carrying out similar activity, and I wish to assure you that we are fully prepared for any eventuality that we may be faced with.
Campaigning for the 7th phase of District Development Council elections in Jammu and Kashmir ended on Monday. Voting for this phase will be held on Wednesday. Polling will take place in 31 constituencies, which include 13 seats in the Kashmir Valley and 18 constituencies in the Jammu division. The 8-phase DDC polls began on the 28th of November and will conclude on the 19th of December. Counting of votes will take place on the 22nd of December. And in Goa, the ruling BJP on Monday made a major victory in the zilla panchayat elections, winning 32 of the 49 seats, while the opposition Congress bagged 4 seats. Independents won 7, MGP 3, while the NCP and the Aam Aadmi Party won 1 seat each. Voting took place on the 12th of December in 48 constituencies in the state's zilla panchayats, which have a total of 50 seats. The BJP had won unopposed in 1 seat. Election in another constituency was cancelled due to the death of one candidate.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी की तरफ से गोवा प्रदेश में 2 जिला पंचायत इलेक्शंस थे। दोनों जिला पंचायत इलेक्शंस को हमने नॉर्थ गोवा और साउथ गोवा दोनों मेजॉरिटी से हम जीते हैं। इसलिए पूरे हमारे पार्टी के सभी कार्यकर्ता ने बहुत अच्छी तरह से काम किया और गोवा के सभी लोगों ने, जो ग्रामीण भाग में जो 85% वोटर रहते हैं, सभी लोगों ने मैक्सिमम सपोर्ट भारतीय जनता पार्टी को किया है।
And a look now at the COVID-19 situation in the country. India reported 27,071 new cases of COVID-19 on Monday morning, taking the total number of cases in the country to over 98,84,000. 336 deaths were also reported in the past 24 hours, bringing the toll to 1,43,355. With 30,695 new recoveries in the same period, India continues to report more daily recoveries than the daily new cases. India's total active caseload has significantly dropped to 3,52,000. Total recovered cases stand at 93,88,000, pushing the national recovery rate to 94.98%. The total tests in the country have crossed 15 crore 45 lakh. 8,55,000 tests were conducted in just the past 24 hours. Talking about states, Kerala reported the maximum daily new cases numbering 4,698 in the last 24 hours, while Maharashtra recorded 3,770 new cases. West Bengal reported 2,580 new cases of COVID-19. Maharashtra saw the maximum casualties with 70 deaths. West Bengal and Delhi reported 47 and 33 new deaths respectively. And the centre has released detailed guidelines for India's mass COVID-19 vaccination drive that will begin once the front-runner candidates will be available for emergency use. The government has issued step-by-step guidelines to all states and union territories to prepare for the vaccination drive. Now, according to the guidelines, the COVID Vaccine Intelligence Network System, a digitalized platform, will be used to track enlisted beneficiaries for the inoculation and anti-coronavirus vaccines on a real-time basis. The key guidelines include plans to vaccinate 100 to 200 people in each session per day, monitoring them for 30 minutes after administering the shots for any adverse event, and then allowing only one beneficiary at a time. The COVID-19 vaccine will be offered first to healthcare workers, the frontline workers, and to persons above 50 years of age, followed by persons younger than 50 years of age with associated comorbidities based on the evolving pandemic situation. So that's it from us in this bulletin. But before we leave, we once again appeal to all our viewers to stay safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Wear face masks, wash hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing while stepping outside. Remember, these simple precautions are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic. Good night, and thank you very much for your time.